Okay, this is a review for the defensive tackles of alignment and assignment responsibilities. Excuse me. Okay, just as a reminder, the A gaps are between the center and the guard, the B gaps are between the guard and the tackle, and the C gaps are between the tackle and the tight end, or if there's no tight end, just outside of the tackle. Um, if you hear an even number with respect to techniques, that is always head up. That means your nose excuse me, is head up on the nose of the lineman across from you. If you are in a something with a little I, that means you are on the inside shoulder. And if you are an odd number, that means you are on the outside shoulder. Okay. So our D tackles will always line up in a three tech and a two I tech. Okay. So what does that look like? The three tech is on the outside shoulder of the guard, and the two eye tech is on the inside shoulder of the guard. Okay. The three tech always aligns to the field. Okay. So that means that the three tech is going to align to the side of the field that has more space. Okay. So if you were to, all you have to do is just look at the field, and whichever side has more space, that's the side of the field where the three tech is going to align. Okay. The side of the field that's to the boundary, that's where there's less space. All right. So that is going to be the defensive tackle is going to line up in a two eye tech. Okay. So let's go over the three tech rules first, and then we'll go over the two I tech rules. The three tech rules, your alignment is in a three technique. And again, that is the outside shoulder of the guard. Okay. Your base run assignment is the B gap. Okay. So that is the gap between the guard and the tackle. All right. And then your read is the guard. Now, what's nice about this, guys, is that the three tech and the two I tech have the same reads. Okay. Now let's go to the two I tech. The two I tech is always going to line up in a two I tech to the boundary. Okay. So that means on the inside shoulder of the guard. And the two I tech's base run assignment is the A gap. Okay. If you didn't use these technique verbiage, okay, in with your club teams, that's okay. Another way to think about it, guys, is the three tech is going to line up in the B gap, and the two I tech is going to line up in the A gap. But you are both going to read the guard. Okay. So let's take a look here. So if we assume, okay, that this is the field side, meaning that there's more space to this side, and this is the boundary side, meaning there's less space over here. Our tackle is going to line up on the outside shoulder of the guard or in the B gap. That's our three tech. And then the defensive tackle to the boundary is going to line up in the A gap or on the inside shoulder of the guard. And that's our two I tech. Okay. The three tech's defense base responsibility is this B gap. This defensive tackle's base responsibility is this A gap. Okay. So let's take a look at yeah, right here. Okay. So if uh, if this were to be the boundary, okay, and this were to be the field, meaning there's more room over here than there is over here, then these would switch, right? The three tech or the B gap defensive tackle always lines up towards the field, and the two I tech or the A gap defensive tackle would line up right here because this is the boundary. Okay. Okay. So that's your alignment, your base run assignment. And now we're just going to look at your reads. Okay. So you are reading the guard that you are lined up against. Okay. So you are going to have five reads. Okay. Just the first read is if the guard base blocks you, then we expect you to shock and shed. If the guard and the tackle or the guard and the center double team you, I expect you to hold your gap or to cut the lineman and create a pile. And we'll talk about that in a second. If the guard pulls, then we expect you to chase or cross the face of the center. And I'll teach you what that is. If the guard climbs to the linebacker, okay, you're going to have to squeeze and spill here. And I'll show you what that looks like. This is usually for what's called a trap play. And then if the guard pass protects, then you are going to rush the quarterback and try and get a sack. Okay. So it's really important that you make your reads, but defensive tackles in our scheme and in our defensive system can be more aggressive than the defensive ends. Okay. So I want you having really good get off, and I want you penetrating into the backfield through the guard or the center. Okay. Now, still, I don't want you penetrating gaps if you are a defensive tackle, but because your reads are a little bit simpler than the defensive ends, you can be more aggressive about firing off the ball and going through that guard. Okay. So, what I want all of your get offs to look like is this explode and drive drill. Okay. See how aggressive and explosive this man is? This is what I want you doing to the guard on every single play. Okay. You see how, watch how much this player is able to move. I'll keep my cursor here. You see that? I want you firing off the ball, getting into the guard, and then shocking and shedding. Okay. So let's take a look at number 57. Or, actually, you know what? Let's go here. So, okay. So, first things first. If the guard, um, if the guard goes to base block you, then you are going to shock and shed. Okay. So what that means, they call this stab and grab at LSU. You're going to stab the guard. Okay. See this extension? We're going to get extension, low pad level. We're going to peek into our gap. There's the peek. Okay. And then we're going to shed and make the tackle. There's the stab. There's the peek, shed. Okay. So let's take a look one more time. Okay. So we're going to get a stab, nice extension. You can see he's peeking, and then we shed. Stab, extension, okay? He's peeking into his gap, and then he's going to shed, okay? So which gap is yours? Remember, if you're the 3 tech, your gap is the B gap. If you're the 2I tech, your gap is the A gap, okay? All right, so let's take a look at what this looks like on film. Let's take a look at this man right here, okay? All right. Sorry, let's go to this one. Okay, let's take a look at 57 here. This is going to be a base block. The guard is going to come base block. You see how he engages the guard here? He's looking into the backfield. He's getting extension. He sees the ball carrier come, and then he rips and goes and makes a tackle. Okay, you see that? All right. So if all of our defensive line do this, or especially our defensive tackles, we should never get any push. Okay, this is the line of scrimmage, this line. We should hold this line right here. You see how he's holding the line right here? Not allowing the offensive lineman to push him backwards, and then he can just shed and make the tackle. Okay. Let's take a look at let's take a look at this one because this one's really good. Okay. So we're looking at, let's look at this defensive tackle first. He's actually going to read the center, but our defensive tackles will be lined up in this 2I, not this one. But take a look. Okay. So look. Oh, let's look at this guy actually. Sorry, so let's look at this defensive tackle right here. Okay. All right. So we're gonna get right here. Okay. We're gonna get extension. We're holding. Now we're gonna shed, and make the tackle. Okay. So defensive tackles, anytime that the guard attempts to base block you, we expect you, okay, to shock, get extension, or stab and grab, get extension, peek to your gap, shed, and make the tackle. Okay, so let's take a look at this defensive tackle right here. That's textbook, right? That is textbook, right? So this defensive tackle's responsibility is this B gap. And we know that because he's lined up in this B gap, right? So this is going to be a base block. So he's going to come up, he's going to shed, he's trying to get extension here, he's peeking into the backfield. Now he's just gonna, or I'm sorry, he's gonna shock, get extension, peek into the backfield, shed, then he goes and makes the tackle. Okay, let's take a look at this defensive tackle right here. He's lined up in a zero tech, right? He comes up. Look, you see this shock right here and this extension. Okay, now he's trying to find the ball. He finds the ball, and then he sheds and goes and makes the tackle. Okay, defensive tackle. So that's what we want you doing on every single play that there is a base block. Okay. If that guard tries to base block you, you shock and shed, you peek, you get that good extension, hold your gap and make the tackle. Okay. So occasionally you're going to see, or actually probably a lot, you're going to see a double team. Okay. And a double team is where the guard and the tackle or the guard and the center double team you and try and push you out of your gap. Okay. Whoops. So when that happens, it is imperative that you hold your gap or that you cut the guard. Okay. So this is the technique I'm going to teach you on how to beat a double team. Okay. You drive with your hands. You make contact and drive through your hands to the first defender. This is usually going to be the guard. And then you drive your hip into the second defender. This is either going to be the tackle or the center. Okay. Once you can split them, then you rip through. Okay. So right here, you're driving and you're giving them the hip. So I call this give them the hip. Okay. That's what I call this in practice. And this is what we're going to practice. Okay. So this man right here, he's just giving him the hip. Okay. And that's how you hold your B gap. You can't get pushed back. So right here, give him the hip, give him the hip. Okay. Okay. So let's take a look here. Um, Now, here's the other thing you need to know. This is the technique I want you doing of giving them the hip. But if you start to lose this technique and you start to get pushed back, you are going to cut the guard. And that's real simple. All cutting the guard means is that you lower your pad level, okay? And and you just dive for the knees or the thighs of the guard and you create a pile. Okay? So let's take a look at this double team. So let's take a look at this. So this is the A gap player and this is the B gap player, right? So this is in um, this player is in a three tech, okay, which is the outside shoulder of the guard. And this one is in a 2 eye tech. We would want this player to be over just a little bit further right here. Okay, so let's take a look at this guy. Okay, so what we would expect on our team, okay, is that this is your gap. This A gap is your gap. Okay, so we actually engage the guard, not the center. That's okay. But you see how he's getting pushed out of his gap and it creates this big lane here? Okay, that's what we don't want. Okay, let's look at the second one. This man's going to get double teamed and he is just getting pushed back. Okay, so if this were our player, okay, as soon as you get pushed back 2 steps, 1, Two, you're going to drop your pad level and shoot for this man's knees or knees or thighs right here. The reason why is because if you can create a pile right here, this running back has nowhere to run. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at on these power plays. Okay. Let's take a look at this D tackle right here. He's getting double teamed. You see how the guard and tackle are coming down to double team him? He does a pretty good job here of holding his gap. Okay. That's a really good job. Okay. You see how he doesn't get pushed back? That's what we want. Okay, so let's take a look at this guy right here. He's going to get double teamed by this guard and this tackle, and he just gets completely washed. Okay, that was a really violent block right there. Okay, this is what we don't want. We don't want you getting washed out of the play like that. Okay, let's take a look at this D tackle right here. He's going to get double teamed. Okay, he's trying to get skinny, and he gets washed out. That was actually a pretty good job, but still. Okay, let's take a look at this D tackle. He's going to get double teamed right here. That's a pretty good job of fighting across the face right there. Okay. That's a pretty good job. Okay. So, okay, so that's if you get double teamed. Okay. Um, Now sometimes the guard that's right in front of you is going to pull. Okay, so this is like there's a really good example right here. Okay, this guard's going to pull around. Okay, and watch this D tackle. So this center is going to come take him. Okay. Okay, so anytime that your guard pulls, we are going to ask you to chase. Okay, and what that means is there is a split second window where there's space in between this guard and center. And if you can get through that, you are going to make a very easy tackle in the backfield. So I'll show you right here. There's the snap right there. You see this space right here in between? Okay, if you can beat the center on this block, okay, and get right here, look, you're going to make a tackle right there. Okay, you will see the same thing. I guess we can show this right here. You'll see the same thing on the backside here. Okay, this guard is going to pull, and if this defensive tackle can get into the backfield and beat the, sorry, and beat the block, then he's just going to be right here for the tackle. So right there, you see this space right here? Okay, this is why we want you reading the guard and playing through the guard, because if you can get into this space, look, there's no one there to stop you. You're just going to make a tackle. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's take a look here, actually. Okay, so let's look at this defensive tackle right here. This guard is going to pull. Now, what he is trying to do is this is good. He is trying to cross the face, and we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, so if you so let's go look for the window. Okay, there's going to be a small window right there. You see that window right there? You see this window right here? If he can shoot this gap right here and get into the backfield, there's going to be no one there to stop him. The second best alternative is what this man is trying to do. If this center picks you up, that's okay. You just need to fight back across, like what he tries to do right here. Fight back across to get back into the play. Okay, so let's take a look at this D tackle right here. This guard is going to pull right there. Okay, he is just going to straight try to cross the face, and that's okay too. Okay, last one. Okay, we can already see this window opening up. There's this D tackle here. This guard is going to pull right there. You see this tiny little gap right here, guys? If you can fire off the ball and get through there, you're just going to make the easiest tackle. Okay, I'll actually show you that right now in a game. Let's see, play 26. Okay, this is kind of a bad camera angle, okay, which is unfortunate. But what you're going to see here is this is the center, and then we have a guard right here. This guard is going to pull to the outside, and our defensive tackle right here is reading the guard. He's going to see the pull, and he's going to beat the tackle down and just make an easy tackle for loss. So watch. You see that? Defensive tackles, this is the easiest tackle for loss that you will ever have in your career. Okay, so right here, you can see this guard, his head. You see how he's turning to go? Okay, so he's trying to pull to the outside, and this tackle is late coming down to the down block. Okay, and you can't see it on the video, but our defensive tackle is actually ripping here. So he rips through and then just makes that tackle. Okay, now let me show you another one real quick. Um, Play 17. This is one we saw earlier. Okay. I want you to watch his D tackle. It's the same D tackle. So this D tackle's here. He's going to get down blocked. Okay. So the guard's pulling here. He's getting down blocked. But watch. He fights to cross the face of his blocker, and he ends up making the tackle. Okay. So that's why it's so important, defensive tackles, that you fight down there. Okay. He fights to cross the face, then he makes the tackle. All right. Okay. So we've gone through if the guard pulls, you chase. If the guard climbs to the linebacker, you squeeze and spill. So this is called the trap play. Okay. So this is the exact same thing of the defensive ends. Okay. So what's going to happen here is this guard is just going to go straight up to the linebacker. Okay. Now watch. Straight up. This defensive tackle is going to run right into the block. You see that? Okay, so if you are ever in the situation defensive tackles, okay, and this guard goes straight up to the linebacker, you got to stop. Don't penetrate. Stop right on the line of scrimmage. You need to identify who is coming to block you, and then spill them. So right here, instead of running forward, okay, he should be looking for that other blocker. Okay, that's what he should be doing there. And instead of getting washed like that, he should have spilled them. Okay. So I know that's hard to do. I know it's easier said than done, but it's just we're going to rep this in practice. Okay. Um, we're going to rep it really well. Okay. Let's look at this last one right here. Okay. This is where the guard pulls. I know I'm jumping around a little bit. Okay. All right. So you see that split second right here? I probably should have done this earlier. There's going to be that right there. You see this? See this window? That's the window that you could have to try and get through. Otherwise, you're trying to cross the face. Okay. So finally, if the guard pass protects, then you are just rushing the quarterback. Okay. The three most important reads that you are going to make defensive tackles are these three right here. Okay. If the guard base blocks you, then you need to shock and shed. If the guard and the tackle or the center double team you, you need to hold your B gap or you need to cut if you start to lose your B gap. You cannot get pushed back. You cannot get washed out of the play. And finally, if that guard pulls, you are firing off that ball, okay, and you are trying to get into the backfield, okay. If you can't get into the backfield, that's okay. Try to cross the face of the center who is down blocking you. It's most likely going to be a center. Try to get back into the play, okay. What's less likely is if the guard climbs directly to a linebacker. Again, this is called a trap play. In that situation, we want you to settle, squeeze, and spill. And finally, when the guard pass protects, we want you to rush the quarterback. Okay. So let me just show you a couple things right here that I showed the defensive ends. Okay. So play 6 and 7. Same plays. Okay. So this is going to be our guard is right here. our defensive tackles right here, and they're keying off the guards. Boom. Okay, right here we know it's a base block. Okay, because the guards are firing out. All right. So you see how we made that big pile right there? Let me see. Or not a big pile, but you see how the line never moved? Watch, here's the line of scrimmage. It never moves. Okay, that's because our defensive tackles are shocking, extending, and peaking. We're not giving up ground there. Okay, same thing here. This is going to be a base block. Okay, so again, our defensive tackles are reading the guards. Okay, and we're looking to just get extension here and let our linebackers come up and make the play. Okay, so we're shock, extension, peek into your gap, hold your gap, then shed. So watch, this is the line of scrimmage right here. You see how it doesn't move? Okay, that's what we're looking for. Okay, and then pass protection. Let me just show you what pass pro looks like. All right, so you're going to be reading this guard right here and this guard right here. Now tell me when you know it's pass protection. Okay, let's do it again. You read this guard right now. I know it's pass protection right now because he is standing straight up and going backwards, standing straight up and going backwards. Okay, let's see another play. I know it's pass protection right now. See how they're standing straight up and going backwards? That's what it's going to look like. Okay, pass protection. Now, see that? Now we're just going. Okay. Okay, so just to recap, um, defensive tackles, I want you firing off the ball. Okay. You have um, your two most important reads are to, if the guard tries to base block you, you shock and shed. And if you get double teamed, then you hold your gap. Okay. You have to hold your gap. And you can do that by using the hip technique or by cutting. Okay. I don't care what you do. And we'll work on this in practice. Your third most important job is to chase any guard pullers and try and get into the backfield. If you are late and you get picked up by the center or the tackle, that's okay. Just try to cross their face and get back into the play. I don't expect a lot of trap, but we'll drill this. If you do get trapped, that's okay. You're just going to squeeze and spill. Okay. And finally, the moment that you read pass protection, you are doing everything you can to get into that backfield and to sack the quarterback. Okay. So that is the defensive tackle rules. We're going to drill all this stuff in practice.